Luke, I have something to show you. That was good. Hey, Luke, do you like horrifying things?
Yeah.
Good, because I might say that second-hand embarrassment, also known as cringe, can be quite horrific. And with that said, I would like to present to you this little clip. Let me just tell you, this is how you politic, okay?
Okay, now I want each of you to shout your own name. Do that. Because it's about all of us. It's about all of us. And listen, I have fought my whole career to put the people first.
Now, Luke, would you say you're very sensitive to cringe? Because I have to say, like, I really struggle with.
Same. I didn't like that.
It was like just the way that, like, oh god. So I mean, it is Halloween as we're recording, and I really have to say that's the most terrifying thing I've seen all day. Hello and welcome to Select and Reflect, the movie review podcast where we look at films that have come out in the near and distant past, we give them a couple of watches, and we evaluate them beyond first impressions. I'm your host, Michael, and I'm joined, as always, by my co-host, Luke. And this week, we are celebrating the 25-year anniversary of a particular film, but also the fact that it is the election. Hopefully, at the very day you're watching this, as you heard in the cold open, this is election day, and therefore we're looking at the movie Election. So, Luke, why don't you tell us a thing or two about Election?
Yeah, like you said, Michael, it's the 25-year anniversary of Election. So, you know what? I was like, yeah, let's review this movie around this time because 25 is a good year to do a review of a movie when it's an anniversary of that year. And yeah, obviously, it lines up with the US presidential election. So I think we're all good, honestly. I think this is a great movie to review. So Election is a 1999 American black comedy film directed by Alexander Payne from a screenplay by Payne and Jim Taylor based on Tom Perotta's 1998 novel.
Oh, I thought it was based on a political system.
So it stars Matthew Broderick and Reese Witherspoon. That's the only two people listed in the starring section. There are more. Chris Klein, who plays Paul Metzler.
Yes.
Jessica Campbell as Tammy Metzler, and Mark Haralick as Dave Novotny. You don't need like a,
Yeah, like that doesn't really, like it's not really much of a nickname.
Yeah. Oh yeah, people don't call me David.
Yeah.
I've got a crazy nickname, Dave.
It's me, Michael brackets Mike.
Yes. Anyway, so the movie was released on April the 23rd, 1999. So yeah, we're a bit off its 25-year anniversary, but of course we are doing it in November. Because of the US election, like I said. So, yeah, there is a reason we're doing it quite late. But, Michael, can you tell me what the budget was for Election?
Well, so this said MTV Movies. Now, my understanding is MTV Movies, they're kind of like they're like a TV show. So I would almost feel like that makes me think this would be a relatively low budget, even though Matthew Broderick was a big deal. So I guess I would say most of the budget went to Matthew Broderick. So with that said, I'm going to say that this movie cost $5 million.
Oh wow! You see, there's a massive range here in the budget, and you still managed to go lower than that range. Incredible, really. So yeah, I did see that as well. It's produced by MTV, which is kind of weird because it did get nominated for an Oscar for Best Adapted Screenplay.
Wow.
Yeah, so there you go. But yeah, the budget is $8.5 to $25 million.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's not close to your guess, and it's quite a massive range there. So yeah, I don't know. It's
yeah, you're allowed to bully me.
Yeah, again, it's kind of awful that you guessed that. But what about the box office, Michael? How much did this did this make?
Well, in this case, I literally have no idea because, I'd never heard of this movie before. I'm gonna say it made $10 million.
Okay, well, you actually went lower than I thought because the box office is 17.2. So yeah, okay. I thought you.
At least I'm not as far off.
Well, yeah, I thought you were going to go at least over the budget, but no, you went under the budget and under the under the top range of the budget and under the actual guess. You just love going lower, don't you, Michael?
Yeah, I like to aim low
and just stay low.
Yeah, aim low, stay low. They go low, we go low. I mean, they go high, I go low.
Yeah. So, well, yeah, this isn't that high though, is it? I mean, so yeah. This isn't really a memorable movie, and we would definitely not be talking about it at all, apart from the fact that it is called Election. So there you go. There's not many movies that are based on like an election.
There's Adam McKay's movie, The Campaign.
Yeah, that there's another one. Maybe we'll do that one day when we have a 25-year anniversary for that movie. Yeah. So, Michael, let me ask you, because the thing is, this was nominated, like I said, for best adapted screenplay at the Oscars. So, did you like Election?
I would say this movie was interesting. It's kind of one of those movies where they just throw a load of kind of kooky characters with their own specific things. And I would say, with that said, this movie's like decent, kind of solid, in that it has these well-defined characters, and you can kind of tell like where they're coming from. Like I wouldn't really say this movie is challenging or anything like that. Like to me, yeah, I would say this movie is solid. There was nothing I could really massively criticize here.
Well, okay, so this is quite boring then. I want you to have a strong take on it.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, like that's the thing though. The problem is, this movie does have an interesting thing which we should talk about, and I hope we will, which is the attitude it has to the idea of a teacher banging a student. I do want to talk about that. The thing is, it's not something that massively affected my opinion of the film. I like the characters. I really like Paul. I thought Paul was great. But
Shout
overall,
out Paul.
Yeah, he was always my favorite character in. I was trying to remember what the name of that character is in American Pie. I just remember when he's trying to get with that girl, and he's like, "Suck me, beautiful," and then he joins an a cappella jazz group, and I'm like, man, that actor, like, I don't know what he's up to. Chris Klein, is that his name? He should.
Yeah.
I hope he's in other stuff because he was just such a delightful person.
I don't think so. I made a point of mentioning in my notes. He was big in 1999.
Yeah.
And then he just fell off afterwards.
Yeah, which it sucks because he had like young Keanu Reeves energy with like how kind of good he was at playing someone who was like dumb but kind of lovable. But yeah, I mean, annoyingly, obviously, elections are very controversial. But to me, this movie is literally just like, I would use that word solid. In that it's just like, yeah, like the characters are interesting. There's nothing like really stupid. There's no moments that are really boring in this movie because it's kind of just like something's always happening.
Yeah,
it's like, just scene to scene. It's got a good energy.
Yeah, I agree with all of that. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, it has got good energy. Something is always happening. There's a lot of quirky characters and quirky like storylines, I guess, or interesting storylines. But yeah, I do have a couple of problems with the movie.
Yeah, I mean, I'm always down for a good bitch.
Yeah. So I thought this was going to be, before watching the movie, I was like, okay, this is going to be a satire of American politics.
Yeah, that's a good point, yeah.
Yeah, the American electoral system in general, because, it's a dark comedy. It's called Election, and it just wasn't a satire of...
Yeah. Yeah, sometimes when we review movies, because obviously you're the one who kind of, who truffles out these movies, and sometimes I do get a sense of, like, I imagine why it is you picked them. And in this case, yeah, I'm not surprised to hear you say that
did you work that out all by yourself?
I used my big brain, and I was like, I bet Luke picked this because it's called Election. And I was like thinking to myself, like, yeah, it's going to be some kind of like. I mean, obviously, I also was assuming that as well when he said it. I was like, yeah, it's going to be something like that.
Yeah. But again, it just wasn't. It just wasn't a satire of the American electoral system or American politics.
It's just a high school movie.
Yeah, I mean, it was a satire. Well, there is a message underpinning it potentially, which I will talk about. When we get into the review, this message is admirable, and it kind of fits in with the theme of movies that came out in 1999 as well. So that's interesting, I guess. But yeah, it's just I was expecting this, because it's election. We're doing this because of the U.S. election, and I was just sat there watching this movie and like, there's just nothing to talk. We were gonna riff. Well, I was hoping we were gonna riff on like, which one's Kamala Harris and which one's Donald Trump or something like that. But you could probably do that, and we'll give it a go. We won't just quit. But yeah, it's about a teacher who just basically loses everything. That's the main plot line that happens in the movie, which isn't, again, it is a satire of something, I guess, the American dream, to give that away, which is I guess the overall point of the movie, which of course we'll talk about. But yeah, I was just disappointed in that, As for the movie, it was fine. It was just fine. It wasn't great. It was just fine. And so I came out of this thinking, great. So the movie is just fine, like from a quality standpoint. So that's not good in terms of having a strong take on it. you know, and how are we going to talk about this for like an hour? Or at least we can talk about like the satire. No, we can't talk about that either because there's no fucking satire in a movie called Election. There's no political satire, really. So yeah, we're just kind of fucked, honestly. But we'll make the best of it. Do you have any nitpicks?
Yeah, one.
Okay, so you go for... Well, I have two, so you go first.
So just the fact that Reese Witherspoon, Tracy, there we go, happens to put like the when she tears down the posters, she happens to put them in a bin right near where Tammy is sitting. Obviously, it's very coincidental that Tammy happens to be. I mean, I know she like says that's where she likes to go sit, but yeah, she happens to be there, and then also that happens to be where Tracy drives to throw the stuff, and then obviously that's significant, like plot wise. Yeah, just very quinky danky.
Yeah, no, I think that's a fine nitpick, and
thank you.
I guess an
average solid nitpick for an average solid movie.
It's a plot convenience that propels the plot, and so you could say, I guess stuff like that has to happen for a movie to be interesting, you know. But yeah, it is kind of crazy. Anyway, that's why it's just a nitpick. So
yes.
There you go. Well done. So yeah, I have a nitpick and a litpick, but I put the nitpick down. And I realise I don't actually think it's a nitpick because I think it's part of the point of the movie. And the nitpick is that I put doesn't you know which state the movie is set in, of course.
Yes, Nebraska.
Oh, well done.
Because it's set in Omaha.
Oh, and you know Omaha's in Nebraska.
You know, I do because I find that really weird because obviously like Nebraska's famous for being like the place where it's just a bunch of farmers. But then Omaha, it actually seems like it's a pretty substantial happening city. And I've always found that fun.
Well, of course, it's the state is. Why are you? What is the matter with you, man? Like, yes, of course, Nebraska has like a city in it.
No, I just assumed it was all just farmers.
You are right. It is the majority of Nebraska is just nothing.
Yeah, because this is why, for example, like, because obviously Kansas is so farmery that they don't even get to have Kansas City inside them.
Yeah.
So I was like,
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, it's crazy, really. The Kansas City thing, like it's. Have you ever? This is off tangent, but it's fine again because the movie is not that interesting to talk about. Have you ever gone on Google Maps and looked at Kansas City?
Yes, I'm looking at it right now.
Because I have before, and it's crazy how the line between is it obviously Kansas and Missouri.
Yes,
Missouri, like it literally the state line cuts through people's houses, and there's no.
Yeah,
I don't know how it works. Like it particularly
it cuts through the back end of an oil tanker.
Yeah, in the south, of Kansas City, it's just how do people tell what state they're in? Like, what the fuck is going on? That's crazy, considering, of course, how important states are in America.
Yeah, the Electoral College.
Well, yeah, and just like who you pay your taxes to, I'm just like, who we in the UK we don't elect like people who are governor of our counties, or we don't elect senators based on county lines, so it's fine if the county line dissects a house, no one fucking care. In America, it's completely different. Yeah, they have this fucking ridiculous situation where a state line can literally like dissect a city, like a major city.
It's a shame Kansas and Missouri are quite similar, like politically, because I'd like it if, I don't know, like one of them banned abortion and the other didn't, but everyone was just like, oh man, now I have to go to the other side of town.
I
have to have the abortion in my living room. It's illegal in my kitchen.
I literally think Kansas has unbanned abortion.
Oh,
they had a referendum in 2022. Well, whatever they call it in America.
Yeah.
Like abortion was on the ballot, and because the representatives in their Congress or whatever wouldn't vote it, so it was the citizens of Kansas voted for access for abortions. And
women just love killing babies.
Yeah, I'm not sure about Nebraska. Is that the state next to Kansas? Did you say?
No, Missouri.
Oh,
which is
Missouri is probably the same, I'd imagine.
Missouri abortion law. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but whatever. The point is that
no, apparently, as of 2022, abortion in Missouri is illegal, with abortions only being legal in cases of a medical emergency.
Okay, what about in Kansas? So
So no, you're right. So Kansas, you were right.
Yes, good.
I checked.
Okay.
So yeah.
Interesting. Literally, yeah, that is the case.
Oh, I like that. Good. I'm glad.
You like that. You like that.
I'm glad that women in Missouri can't get have to go to Kansas City.
Anyway, it's about this movie is set in Nebraska, so let's talk about that again.
Yes.
But we're getting into politics here because we kind of have to, because the movie really doesn't. Yeah, I guess you could say it's the issue of being a movie that came out in the late 90s when there was no political. Well, there was nothing going on in American politics.
Yeah, everything was fine.
Every problem had been solved. It was the end of history.
Well, also, I mean, this isn't even an election year that this movie was made.
No, you're right. Yeah, well, yeah. There's elections every year in America.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, I get what you mean, like a presidential one,
Yes.
or even a midterm. But yeah, so my nitpick to get back onto this and back onto Nebraska is: doesn't suburban Nebraska look depressing? That's the thing. I was just watching this movie and I was
Yeah.
like, man, like God, this whole thing looks depressing. Like, imagine living here, but. I think that is part of the point of the movie, but I wrote that like 10 minutes into watching the movie.
This movie is kind of similar to A Serious Man, and it's about someone whose life just keeps getting worse and worse and worse. And also, that is set in suburban Minnesota, but it looks equally depressing, which I guess makes sense. You know, it's all kind of the same area.
Yeah, American suburbs are all the same.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is
but
true.
especially and once you get west of the Mississippi, you just reach that point where they've got they already had way too much space, but it's like crazy to think like east of the Mississippi that's crowded compared to west. So it's like, man, just imagine the horrifying suburban sprawl.
Yeah, I know, it's crazy. I don't know if this is a nitpick or a lit pick, but my second pick is that Reese Witherspoon has one hell of a chin.
Oh yeah, crazy. There's a Family Guy joke about it.
I know, and you know what? That's one of Family Guy's best jokes, I'd say.
Yeah,
because
Reese Witherspoon jaw.
Yeah, well, it's the chin specifically, you know, because people have crazy jaw. Every actor or actress in Hollywood, they have to have like a really pronounced jaw, but it's the chin especially.
Yeah,
it's
she also kind of has a flat face. Like that's something I think about whenever I look at her. So she's got like a weird combination. I think it's like her jaw. Her chin looks extra pointy because of her flat face.
Yeah. It's a bad combination, but somehow she still made it as a Hollywood actress. Crazy, despite that. Despite looking so ugly. No. That's what I had to point out, you know, just get that off my chest. So let's get into the plot. The plot revolves around a student body election and satirizes politics and high school life. The film surrounds Jim McAllister and Tracy Flick, an overachieving student who he dislikes. When Tracy runs for student government president, McAllister sabotages her candidacy by backing a rival candidate and tampering with the ballot count. So yeah, what is the message here, Michael, overall in this movie? Because I've said what I think it is about, but did you, before I said that, did you have an idea of what the message in the movie was about?
Yeah, so you said American Dream, which I kind of, I definitely say this movie has something to say about being aspirational. I would say this movie, in a word, I feel like a lot of it's about envy, because you've got, it's kind of interesting in a way, because obviously you have Paul, who we love, and he is like a really nice guy. There's like several scenes that are dedicated to establishing that he's a really nice, humble guy, and yet he's very wealthy and like incredibly privileged. And then you've got Tracy, who's like, she's actually grown up with a chip on her shoulder. Like, she actually doesn't come from a great background, and her mum's like a self-made woman, and like she's, kind of like an aspirational 1% better every day kind of person, but she's like really resentful of Paul, and she's kind of like mean about everyone. And then obviously you've got the teacher who hates Tracy for even being an overachiever. So in a way, it almost seems like the message of this movie is that the super rich are actually really wonderful people who are there because they deserve it, and they're just nice, whereas all the people who resent the super rich or the people who achieve anything are basically just sad, awful people.
Well, yeah, the issue is, I think, if you can't really achieve the American dream, I think that's what the movie is saying with the message. And the only way, and if you try to achieve it, you will be very unhappy.
Yeah, I think that's it. I agree. It's kind of about like a zen. That's the word.
Yeah, and of course, for someone like Paul, this high school football player who everybody likes, he's been gifted with everything apart from like intelligence, apparently. But yeah, he's just he's loving life, and he doesn't have to scrap for anything. So again, I think we'll get on to I think Desson Howe from the Washington Post had a good line about the American dream, but go on.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, like, one thing I was thinking about while I was watching this, 2 words: Frank Grimes. Like, this movie feels like it's very similar to like Homer's Enemy, which interestingly, I guess Homer's Enemy came out first, but
yeah. So this movie also is told from a bunch of different perspectives. So you have narration from the characters every now and then, and
with some funny freeze frames.
Some good freeze frames. It's making good use of this technique, and there are some comedic opportunities because of the narration, and it's kind of like Of course, the best sitcom ever, Arrested Development, which uses narration often, does Arrested Development to,
often dramatic irony.
Yes, exactly. But the difference with Arrested Development is the narrator is pushing back against what the characters are saying in the show and is saying the truth. And this time,
I always think. Sorry, I didn't interrupt you.
Yeah,
I was just gonna say.
So I thought because you apologized.
No. I just I'm so. But I see. I was gonna heap some praise on you about Arrested Development, so I knew that you'd appreciate it because you love Arrested Development so much. So I knew you'd be like the fact that he was so enthused. Then. Basically, I saw this TikTok and it was women or girls who think the gays love them. And it was obviously, kind of in the TikTok style, a woman kind of playing a role of the gays love me, blah, blah, blah. And then the top comment was narrator, the gays did not love her. And maybe, yeah.
Yeah. So again, that's a classic Arrested Development. It's maybe not bit, but you know what I mean. Something that'd be in the show somehow. And yeah, in this one, in this movie, it's a bit different. You have the narrator the characters are the narrator at different points, and they say something and then it's obviously not true what they're saying. So that's you can always take advantage of narration for comedic purposes if you do it right. And just like Arrested Development, this movie does it, but in a different way. So shout out to the movie for that. So but we'll get into I guess the message now. So Desson Howe from the Washington Post recommended the film, saying, and this is the quote I wanted to tell you. He says, the satire of the season, that's what this is. I mean, I'm not sure what season he's talking about.
Election season, but it's not really satirizing that as we've established, but yeah.
Came out in April, so...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Spring, new beginnings.
Okay. A hilarious, razor-sharp indictment of the American dream. And that's the best word for it, I think. It's an indictment of the American dream. Yeah, there's just this hollowness of the American dream. And there are characters who dream, who want better things in their life, and they suffer. And again, the one who is happy actually, supposedly happy, the character, which is of course McAllister, who's, got everything made for him. He says he's happy. He wins Teacher of the Year. The students like him. He's a good teacher, but he's not happy at all, is he? No. And the characters that don't dream and are dumb or don't care, like the Metzler brother and sister thing.
Yes.
They are the ones that succeed the most in terms of happiness. One of them just gets into college and is like, oh yeah, this is cool. And the other one goes to an all-girls Catholic school, because she gets expelled. And then, she's just smoking weed in the toilets and she's happy.
And banging babes.
Yeah, because of course she is a lesbian.
And there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, that's the thing. So, we're going to punish you and send you to an all-girls school, and of course the parents don't know she's a lesbian, but so there you go. That's and of course these two characters are also the wealthy ones in the movie. So you do like the movie from that perspective, but this next thing I saw on Wikipedia, it troubled me, Michael.
Okay, I'm ready.
Okay, so according to Payne, the movie is also President Barack Obama's favorite political film, which kind of makes me hate the movie because if he likes it, he's a deeply cynical guy.
Yes.
So I mean, I don't really like it. My opinion is it's fine. But again, it makes me want to hate it because I'm like, if he likes it, then there must be something evil about this movie.
That's a good point. Actually, I understand where you're coming from.
There's no point in trying, you might as well just, bomb some people in the Middle East, in the right folks. We torture some folks, and then what are you going to do? Nothing can change. Elections are pointless. Social mobility is pointless. Everything's pointless. The history is set in stone. All we can do is just live in it.
That's good. Yeah.
And that's the thing. That's what maybe he gets out of the movie based on his life and his philosophy, and it makes me dislike the movie that it potentially affirms his beliefs on America and the world and politics in general. You get me?
Yeah. No, absolutely. I mean, kind of like I said, I feel like there's a reading of this movie that actually, because the people who aren't agitating against any sense of injustice are actually the ones who are better off. It's not quite Forrest Gump, but I think there could be a conservative reading of this movie, or indeed a liberal reading of this movie. # what's the difference? Am I right, ladies?
Yeah. Okay. Are you right?
I think. I mean, obviously, conservatives are welcome to read any movie, but in this case, I'd say this is on the more legitimate end of the spectrum. Of like, you could say like, I mean, obviously, yeah, I get like the American dream aspect, but I also think that it's not completely unreasonable to be like, the real problem isn't that these people are striving for the American dream. The problem is they're doing it in like a kind of envious socialist way, where they're not. Like a capitalist looks at a rich person. No, sorry, a socialist looks at a rich person's house and says no one should have that. A capitalist looks at it and says everyone should have it. That's the difference. Capitalists want people to be rich. Socialists want everyone to be equally poor.
Yeah. Okay.
You can. When are we going to talk about the pedo stuff?
Oh, do you really want to talk about pedophilia?
Well, yeah, it's just interesting, isn't it? Because
is
like,
yeah, like it's just research on it.
Yeah, I've been really looking. I've been really boning up on it. I mean, obviously. Like, it's one of those things where I don't really know what my opinion is on it. So I just
what do you mean, pedophilia?
Yeah, exactly. No, I want to say my words.
Come on, that was very funny.
You're not going to tie me up.
That was very funny. I don't really know what my opinion is. I know you're talking about it in the movie.
Yes, in the movie, yes.
In the context of the movie. But yeah, we'll get to it. So let's talk about Jim McAllister, you know.
Yes.
So we're getting into the script now. He is a teacher of US history and civics at Carver High School in Omaha. Does Carver have anything to do with the theme? Who was Carver?
Yeah, they're being carved up like
No, there was a person called Carver.
Wasn't there a guy called Custer, like General Custer's last stand?
But that's not Carver.
Okay. Famous American's surname Carver. I don't know whether or not that's Thomas Nixon Carver, American economist.
He was the black guy that invented peanut butter.
Oh God, yeah. Peanut butter inventor.
It's just like Washington Carver or something.
Yeah, for some reason, this is saying Marcellus Gilmore Edson, but that's... Sorry, George Washington Carver, you're right.
So yeah, George Washington Carver, the inventor of peanut butter. I thought that was the case. So yeah, but there's nothing to do with the movie, I think.
Yeah, well I think he invented it because he realised that like black people just needed to pick themselves up by their bootstraps and
of course,
eat some peanut butter.
Despite inventing peanut butter, black people are still maligned. Well, yeah, they're still the underclass in American society. So yeah, there you go. So actually, you know what? If you actually think about it, Carver High School actually does have some pretty substantial meaning to it, you know, in the context of the movie. So yeah, sorry, I just put this was a stupid thing I wrote. So I put like McAllister would nowadays be accused of turning the kids communist and trans in Nebraska because you know that's what happens in Nebraska.
And he like teaches like kids lessons about politics.
Yeah, like how you shouldn't overturn elections. You know,
yes.
Even though he, of course, did do that, but you know, what he says, what he does is different to his actions.
Yeah, just like a typical Dumbocrat.
Yeah, but this guy is a great teacher and loves his job, just like our good friend Dylan wishes to be.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, I was going to say we do know someone who works in a school.
Well, it's a youth centre.
A youth centre. And obviously, he's not got a position where he's necessarily able to influence much more than the cleanliness of the floors, but. I do wonder, like, I was thinking, like, maybe we could have got his insight on this, but then I couldn't be bothered.
Do you think that he's as good a janitor as McAllister is a teacher?
Well, obviously, the janitor in this film plays quite a noble role. I mean, there's a whole thing about how, like, I mean, what do you... Look, let's make this thematic. What do you make of the fact that, like, the whole reason why he ends up getting screwed over is because at the start of the film, he carelessly throws some rubbish on the floor, much to the disgrace of the janitor. And obviously, like I say, janitors are, well, some of our best friends are janitors. And then obviously the janitor is kind of the one who turns him in and discovers that, he messed with the election results. Is there something thematic there? Because you kind of think so, that like, but it almost seems to be working on in the reverse, because it's like he or is it just random?
You know the phrase the rat race. It's meant to be like, a bunch of rats are scrapping for something, you know.
Oh, so you're saying like so basically it's kind of like just resentment amongst the plebs.
Yeah, you start hating people who run your own, class, because like they piss you off, and yeah, there's no solidarity, I guess. Even because it's America, perhaps, I don't know, but yeah. But basically, the point is that. Yeah, you just get resentful in your position. So so instead of wanting something better for yourself, you just want to fuck over the next person, which is kind of because you can't get better. This guy's going to be a janitor all his life, or he has been.
Just like someone else we know.
Yes, just like Dylan, and always will be. And so therefore he's like, oh no, fuck this guy. I'm gonna get one over on him because he pissed me off. And it's the same logic, of course, with McAllister, Matthew Broderick's character, who's like, nah, fuck this girl. Not literally,
Yes.
thankfully.
Yeah, rarely.
Yeah.
For a change.
Yeah, for a change, but like, nah, fuck this girl. She wants to be president. No, I'm taking her down a peg because they're depressed and they're not happy with their lives. So this causes them to take these spiteful actions. I guess that would be the message. One of his students is Tracy Flick, an overachieving junior. Earlier in the year, McAllister's colleague and best friend, geometry teacher David Novotny, was fired from his job and divorced by his wife Linda after engaging in a sexual relationship with Tracy.
Yes.
Yeah, so honestly, again, I talked about it at the start. This, I thought, was going to be, a satire of American politics, or the American electoral system. Specifically, I wasn't expecting the movie to go in this direction, like, there's pedophilia right away. And it was kind of crazy that it went in this direction. Right from the start, I was like, okay, Jesus, right? Okay, it's going to be this kind of movie then. It was interesting to of course see where the story went. But you apparently had a strong take on whether. Well, what do you think pedophilia is good or bad, Michael? I think that's you were unsure about that, right?
Oh yeah. So I would like to say pedophilia is bad, but I think there's really something that I need to stress. I don't think people stress enough. This isn't actually technically pedophilia. It's ephebophilia. I don't know if you're aware of this distinction. A lot of people aren't, and it's really important to me that people are aware of this. Pedophilia is being attracted to someone who's prepubescent, but ephebophilia is being attracted to someone who is postpubescent but below the age of consent. So I do think we just need to stress that so everyone is aware.
Yeah, I'm sure they'll that distinction is made.
Well, it needs to be made by everyone because it is obviously very important. But yeah, I mean, so for me, like, if we're going to talk about this as like a thing that happens in the movie, like the weird thing about it, right, is just that, I mean, it's not treated very seriously. I think that's fair to say. Like, the guy who is doing it is kind of like a goofy, dumb character who's like crying and like, we're in love. Which is just, it's kind of funny because like I feel like, never mind Blazing Saddles, I'm kind of wondering, like, could you make a movie like this nowadays where a teacher has sex with a student and is obviously
I mean, maybe not in a comedy.
That's it.
Maybe
you
that's
couldn't play it off this way.
Yeah, that's the issue. It's like in a comedic movie. But yeah, because the guy is so pathetic, that's why it's kind of okay in the context of this movie. Because it's like, oh, he's such a loser that, all right, fine, those
are the rules, yeah.
Yeah, the movie can still turn it into a comedic moment because of that. Because if he was like he is kind of that's the thing. He gets her alone and then says, "Oh, you're really attractive." He
is predatory. Yeah.
He slips that in there, and I would say that would be quite predatory. And then obviously invites her back to his house and just gives her like a beer. It's just the most pathetic thing ever. It's kind of funny at the same time because of that. But obviously, it is again, I don't know if you made this movie today, you could have this kind of the movie go this way. Yeah.
It's kind of weird because it's like, obviously Matthew Broderick, I think it's fair to say we're not supposed to understand him as an entirely good person, although not necessarily entirely evil person. But it's almost like the vibe I pick up is that it's like he is angry at Tracy because of what happened. And obviously,
I'll talk
that's
about
kind
this.
of wild. Yeah,
I'll talk about this now. By the way, let's just talk about Tracy or Reese Witherspoon in this movie because I love the line. It's a very funny line when, of course, Tracy insists. It's not because I grew up without a father. Mr. Novotny just made me feel protected and safe.
Yeah,
that's a funny line. But yeah, Reese Witherspoon in this movie is really good. I just wanted to get that out of the way.
Yeah.
You agree, of course.
I absolutely do.
Yeah, she plays it so well.
She's really something special.
Okay, calm down. Well, actually, how old was she before I?
You know what? She's actually 23.
Oh, okay.
I checked. Yeah, so she like clearly had a young face. I wanted to. I know the reason why I wanted to know is because there's just because this is like a bit of a random moment. But the bit where like he's having sex with his wife and then he imagines her face and she's like, "Fuck me, yeah, fuck." Like obviously I know that like it's not the first movie to have very young like actors.
Well, she would be over 18. But the question is, would she? I didn't think she'd be 23. That's quite a bit older. Yeah,
so I was like, I want to know, like, before I, think about no, I'm joking. Before I allow myself to remember Reese Witherspoon going fuck me hard. I wanted to like know just what we were dealing with.
And you don't care about the fact that in the context of the movie she is still in high school.
Yeah, I look, at the end of the day, it's just a movie, dude. Obviously, I'm aware that the character is a wildly inappropriate thing for them to be doing, but
thank you.
Yeah,
well done. So any the cops who normally tune into this podcast to listen to Michael, when we get onto the subject of it. Oh, sorry, not pedophilia, ebophilia, as he, of course.
Yes.
Yes.
They have like a little buzzer that goes off, like whenever like they're monitoring the what's it called, like the automatic captions.
Yeah. There must be like, I don't know, there probably isn't, but it'd be funny if there was like a trigger on the internet for like the authorities in whichever country, like whenever someone types in the phrase actually, or said the phrase actually, it's called epiphilia, like immediate like hard drive check. Yeah, right. So so let's talk more about the pedophilia. Well, actually, you know what? Let's not talk about the pedophilia in the movie. Let's talk about the pedophilia by the creator of the movie. Okay, so I know it's
Bryan Singer.
No, he's not the only. Unfortunately, he's not the only.
I'm just like, who is it though?
There's a lot more. So I know it's an adaptation, but it's interesting. This movie, of course, contains the storyline when a certain Alexander Payne is the screenwriter. Do you know about his history, Michael?
No, so I'm on his Wikipedia now looking.
Well, no, don't spoil it.
Oh, okay, sorry, I won't then.
God. So, in a 2018 interview, Rose McGowan accused a prominent man in Hollywood of statutory rape, but she did not name the person. In August 2020, however, McGowan said it was Payne and that he committed the act in 88 or 89, when McGowan was 15 years old and Payne was about 28 years old, which is interesting, of course. It's more than interesting, but, trying to be diplomatic. Yes. Payne responded to McGowan's allegation by writing a guest column in Deadline Hollywood, in which he admitted to a consensual relationship with her, but denied any impropriety, alleging they had met in 91 when she was over the age of consent, which is 18 in California. And I imagine because McGowan was 15 in 88, so she would have been 18 in 91, so there you go. I met her when she was 18.
Pretty slick.
Payne ended his statement writing, "While I cannot allow false statements about events 29 years ago to go uncorrected, I will continue to wish only the best for Rose." Again, Rose McGowan, didn't she commit suicide or something, or she died recently?
I feel like I recognize that name. Yeah,
I think so. And this should be verifiable. Like, did she know Alexander Payne in 88 or 89? Or
you think someone would know.
91, because that's, we're talking about at least 2 years of difference here. So it's like this should be easy to find out. So
when like it's just one and done, I'm always like you'd think like it's kind of impressive if he was a pedophile. Like I'm not saying but if he was a pedophile,
why'd you just say these things, man?
And then he's been able to, just because I'm saying like he could have got away with it, right? Because of what's going on in Hollywood.
He did get away with it.
Yeah, I know, but it's like he got away with it, and I was like, I just wanted to see if I could, and like now he's not done anything else. But maybe. Well,
no, there's just one accuser.
Oh, he was married to Sandra Oh.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, she's like, she's famous.
Oh no, but when she was 14 though. Oh no.
She was a Thai bride. I don't know where she's from.
Wow, that's kind of racist.
She's from Canada.
Jesus. Okay.
She's a Thai bride from Canada.
It's just interesting. Again, the storyline is in this movie. And this guy, Novotny, is, he's portrayed as a bad guy, but he does get some sympathy from the main character, of course. Again, what he did is quite bad. And, he's
that is actually very suspicious.
Yeah, and given Alexander Payne's history, maybe because of what he did, he didn't decide to take a harsher, direction regarding this character. But we'll move on now. So while McAllister felt Dave needed to suffer consequences, this is what you were talking about before, weren't you? What did you say before regarding McAllister and what he thinks of Tracy?
Yeah, well, he seems to be resentful of her about it.
Yeah, so he resents, this is what it says on Wikipedia, the lack of repercussions for Tracy. Does he actually think that? Because, potentially, I think he does, kind of. But he could be thinking, this girl is trying to seduce me like she did my best friend, like, what a whore.
There are moments where he kind of play with that.
Because I think, what is his motivation for wanting her to lose? Is it, oh no, I'm going to spend time with her So I don't want that, and because he's afraid
They do imply that, yeah.
he's going to have like again he's having sexual fantasies about her, so that's going to continue then, and he doesn't want that. Or is he just pissed off with her, and that's his motivation for wanting her to lose? It's either one or the other. Or,
Yeah, because they literally have a moment where she's like, we're going to be working very close together.
Yeah, it's it's clear what I think she's trying to do then. I think, but again, he's very. I say it's either one or the other. There is a main motivation, but it can be a combination of both. That's what I mean. I can't. The whole thing is actually not.
I'm with you, yeah.
It's actually not one or the other. It can actually be both. But which one is the main motivation?
Yeah, I'm not sure. Yeah.
Yeah, because again, he has this fantasy about her, and this was the thing in '99. Older men having like these fantasies about high school girls. Of course, American Beauty stands out. That's what I was thinking again. And yeah, the whole point in that movie again is this guy is having this fantasy about this high school girl, Kevin Spacey, of course, which is ironic.
Yes.
Again,
real pedos in these 1999 pedo movies.
Yes, Kevin Spacey also has a history, doesn't he? Just like Alexander Payne, but well, it's worse to be honest.
Yes.
Than Payne's. Yeah, well, at least we know it's worse
Because it's gay.
Yes. So yeah, and the whole point is he's basically not being he's just having a midlife crisis, and the same could be said for this guy as well, and that's why I guess this was a trope in movies in '99. Like you had these older married men having midlife crisis when they were presented with a young girl in high school who they found attractive. And yeah, what's the better fantasy? What's she called? Mina Savari, I think that's her name.
Yeah.
Also in, of course, American Pie, being just bathed in roses. Was that it?
Yes.
I think that was it. Yeah.
Or like when she opens up her top at the cheerleading.
Yeah, but what comes out the top?
Oh, roses as well. Yeah.
Yeah,
right,
roses. So it's all about the roses.
Deflowering her.
I can't remember actually what the fuck the point of the rose was, because they have roses in their garden. I have to watch it again. But yeah, so it's just a thing in '99, which is interesting. And that's the thing. It's not just Tracy, of course, who he has this fantasy about. It's Linda, and he has an affair with her. And yeah, of course, he says for the first time after he bangs her on the living room floor. It's the first time in years I felt free and alive. Which is so similar to American Beauty and Kevin Spacey, of course.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, it's just, it's 1999. There was this, well, it's not just, of course, these two movies, but of course we've talked about it before. There's a range of movies in '99, talking about how depressing, like, middle-class life was in general, right?
Yeah. And, I mean, yeah, you're just right. They're very similar. In this case, like, there's so much else going on with the election and everything, and, like, all the other characters, that I feel like, honestly, they could have just left American Beauty to handle, more of this stuff. Because, I don't know, like the whole affair thing, it kind of comes out of, it kind of feels like it comes out of nowhere in a way, but I guess
it's the same.
It's part of his character being dissatisfied.
Well, it's the same thing as Novotny, his friend, who has an affair, of course, with a high school student, so that's worse. But this guy's also having fantasies about the same student, and I guess he has this affair with Linda because she's alone. But it's like, these married men basically, they want affairs. That's what they feel trapped. Like, does he really love his wife? I don't think so, because he says that at the start. But of course, she can't get pregnant because of him. That's implied. I guess I'm not really sure how that works.
Usually the man firing the blanks.
Well, yeah, but he doesn't love her enough. So that's why, even though, of course, it's a medical issue, doesn't really have to do with, like, whether you want a baby or not with this person. It doesn't work like that. But yeah, so that's, he doesn't really love her. He feels trapped. And, of course, Novotny, this guy, he just really wanted someone to read his novel that he hadn't even written yet. Yeah. So, it's not about sex, really. It's about being free, That's the point, which is, again, the same kind of thing with American Beauty. That's why you have these affairs. So yeah, I think that's the case. But yeah, again, it's just interesting, the connection to American Beauty, which also probably came out like a month later. American Beauty, honestly. Yeah.
Actually, this is like Ants vs. Bugs Life. With all these like characters in this movie, like while we're obviously not talking about it too much because it's not the election, so who cares, or it's not very political, so who cares. Honestly, like someone could probably do some type of video essay about this movie where they just take. Because it's like all these characters have their own little things going on. It feels like...
that's kind of what we're doing.
Yeah, we are doing that. You're right, yeah.
We don't need a fucking video essay.
Yeah. But I'm just saying, like, someone could, like, dive into
That's what we're doing.
Yeah, like people use the word like Oscar bait. I feel like there should be a term, even though this wasn't a thing at the time, like video essay bait, like movies where like the whole point is just to have.
I mean, I just think there were good movies released back in the day.
Yeah, I suppose.
It's just this is just like a good movie, you know.
Yeah, but I'm just thinking like video, like movies where it almost seems like every single element of it, there's like something you could say about it.
Yeah, that's what good movies are meant to do.
Yeah,
yeah. Just you don't hardly see movies like this anymore, so it seems weird, but it really wasn't. I think. By the way, American Beauty came out in September 99.
And this came out, did you say in April?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, not the same. But anyway, McAllister is appalled by Tracy's unopposed run for student government and dreads further proximity to her. Is he appalled by her unopposed run? I guess because he doesn't like her.
Yeah.
And doesn't. So yeah, again, it's a combination of I hate this girl, and also I'm scared I'm going to have sex with her.
Yeah,
which is a powerful combination. But yeah, you know, are you fine with the motivation in general to kickstart the plot? Really?
Yeah. It just seems like he's a bit of a grumpy stumpy. I mean, it's kind of like I know there is like a thing. I'm pretty sure there's a thing about like teachers just decide to hate some students. Like so, I can imagine that she's the kind of student who some teachers would find really annoying.
Yeah. Okay. So well, definitely you'd find this kid annoying. Honestly. Jesus Christ. So McAllister persuades. I mean, we can speak from experience of being in class with kids who just. Maybe you were this person.
No.
Well,
like enthusiastically puts their hands up and stuff.
Yeah. Was that sarcastic?
Yeah. Well, I think honestly, like my attitude is that I don't think I did, and I tried to avoid it. But I do remember there were some times when I found, like, the thing is sometimes, I realized that. Like, you'd have those teachers who are always asking for, like, class involvement, and they're always being like, who can tell me this, blah, blah, blah. And sometimes I would actually be like, no one else is putting their hands up. I think I'm just going to commit to being the nerd just to make some progress.
Okay. Yeah, no, I understand that sometimes. Yeah. I think that's different to this. So McAllister persuades Paul Metzler, not Paul Mescal, a popular, good-natured but dim-witted football player, to enter the race. Sidelined from football with a broken leg, sustained in a skiing accident, so he's rich. Paul finds his candidacy gives him purpose. Yeah, so again, this is the guy from American Pie. That's Oz, I think his name was.
Yes.
And yeah, he had a great 99, but he just fell off, didn't he? He just fell off.
Yeah, it makes me so sad.
Yeah, and it is a funny character, this guy, but he, it's a cliche at the end of the day, isn't it? Which, is a shame, but, the American football player who's dumb, who everyone likes, who's, not that smart, well, that's the same thing as dumb, But I guess the difference with this guy is he's affable, he's good-natured. I guess that's just because he's rich, Like, everyone loves him, so he's got no reason to hate anyone, so he's happy. So he loves life. Yeah. So Paul's candidacy infuriates Tracy, who expects to run unchallenged, and resents Paul's privileged upbringing. So there you go. And this is, when she's, stamping those stamps. That scene, and she's like, you can't just be popular and win elections. And I'm like, yeah, this is very Hillary Clinton 2016 coded, when she ran against Trump. That was the closest the satire got to being, a satire about actual American politics. And of course, that election happened 17 years later. And yeah, she's the smart student who does all the homework just like Hillary and really wants to be president just like Hillary. And she's beaten by a guy who's just like, fuck it, I'm gonna run. And you all love me, don't you? Yeah, let's go.
Yeah, Paul, honestly, Paul could shoot someone in the middle of Times Square or whatever Trump says, and
it was Fifth Avenue.
Fifth Avenue. What's Fifth Avenue? I don't know.
What do you mean? What's Fifth Avenue?
I only care about Times Square. Fifth
Avenue is an avenue in New York City. It's where all the rich people. I don't know. There's like shops there which are designer shops. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Okay. There is a Mac Miller song called "There's a Party on Fifth Ave."
Yeah. Fifth Avenue is like the famous avenue in New York. And a fun bit here. Okay, an impression of Trump talking about Tracy Flick.
Okay.
Go ahead and do that.
Now, I honestly, I know every single comedian, of which I consider myself to be one, has their impression of Trump, but I'm just trying to, okay. Huge, we gotta, oh God, I mean, let me tell you, I just okay. I'm gonna go for his more kind of like earnest, soft-spoken voice.
Go
I
on.
think he does. Okay. I mean, folks, you gotta look at this Tracy person. She's crazy. I mean, you see how she comes out and she tries to tell everyone that she's got these stickers. But at the end of the day, I don't need stickers. People know my name. They can just go look at the Trump Tower and they see it. But this woman, she comes from nothing. She does. I don't know. Whatever. Fucking hell. I couldn't.
No. You have to focus on
Yeah,
what
like-
she did in the movie. So
Yeah. What did she do in the movie?
Tracy, she got Mr. Novotny fired. She got the great Mr. Novotny. Everyone loved him. She got him fired. Didn't she?
She did. Yeah,
what
that's true.
happened.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then she's tearing up the posters, isn't she, folks? She tears them up. She's cheating, isn't she? What is? Oh yeah, she should be in jail. She should be in jail, folks. Send her to jail. Yeah. So again, this is the kind of stuff I was hoping to do.
Yeah. I'm with you. Yeah, that is good. Yeah.
I'm glad we can do it. Yeah. They say she won by a vote, but she actually lost by a vote. You know, because that's what happens in the movie.
Yeah.
There's election fraud, which actually, you know, for once, doesn't benefit. Well, I guess the Hillary Clinton candidate.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Or doesn't benefit the Democrats, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, for once, the straight white male's being oppressed.
Yeah, for once. Hey. Well,
Oh, wait,
I
no,
was
the
actually
opposite
saying,
way around. Yeah, the opposite way around.
Yeah.
For once, the straight white male's on top is what I meant to say.
Yeah. So normally in American
Yeah.
elections, of course, the straight white male, like what happened in 2020, gets fucked over by
Yes.
corruption and voter fraud.
Yeah.
And they stole it from me. No, okay. So let's move on now. So Tammy Metzler, Paul's adopted younger sister, is dumped by her girlfriend, which I'm not really sure she is. Whatever. Who becomes Paul's girlfriend and campaign
Yes.
manager.
Which, sorry, just leads to my best line, which is like the sudden cut to. I was really. Wait, what was the girlfriend called again? Claire? Am I retarded?
Yeah, Lisa.
Oh, Lisa. There we go. Close.
You think
Nailed
about
it.
the Blair Witch Project?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, I liked when Paul's just like, I was really surprised when Lisa drove me home and offered to blow me. So, like sudden moment, like okay, cool, yeah.
Yeah. This guy's great. Everyone wants to be like this guy.
Yeah.
So Tammy exacts revenge by running for president herself. It's an interesting twist because you think it's only going to be about these two characters. Then Tammy comes into the race, and again, this is a thing that I think could only happen in a novel. Like if this was in like a screenplay, they'd be like, I'll cut this character. We don't need her. It's about these two going head to head. This Tammy thing kind of just complicates it, but because it's a novel, it's based off a novel, therefore this character is in the movie. So yeah, sometimes you notice those things while watching movies,
Yeah.
Yeah. They give speeches at the school assembly, and yeah, I love Paul's speech. That was a
Oh yeah, like he just like listen, like he's reading it off, just like that's why you do
Yeah.
everything. Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Yeah, it's good. And yeah, of course, Tammy denounces student government as a sham and vows to dissolve it if she wins. And obviously the principal suspends her. And yeah, this is the South Park philosophy, isn't it? And in terms of student election, she is correct. But yeah, is this even political satire? Because I'm going to talk about or ask you over the next when we go through the movie and the ending, is this political satire? Well, is this part political satire, saying this election is stupid? Because it kind of is, but if you on its own, yes, but okay. If we talk about the wider context of American politics, is this movie saying elections in American politics are just stupid because nothing changes? And I would say that in '99 that was probably correct. So I guess this is as far as the satire goes, But yeah, what do you think?
Yeah. I think so. On the one hand, the criticism of this is just so someone can put something on their resume or whatever on their college application, obviously it doesn't really apply. And it's kind of interesting because I would say the idea of being president just as almost like a notch in the belt and like a kind of, what's the word, like an achievement, like a collectible. I feel like the best example of that really seems like Donald Trump, like someone who's just like, I'm just going to be president so I can be president. Just because you're mad on the power. But yeah, I definitely would say that the idea that they don't actually do anything is obviously accurate. I don't know, again, whether or not that was like the full intent of the movie, because obviously it's a very valid point about school elections. Like no one actually, I mean, Homer Simpson famously pointed that out.
Yeah, in terms of we talk about this is a satire of the American dream. The point is we go to the elections in America every few years and nothing changes. And in the 90s, that that would be the case, right? Nothing really changes in your life, whoever you vote for. So that potentially is satire, although the movie doesn't really go further with it, to be honest. She gets suspended and kicked out of school obviously later, but is there like a connection there? Maybe you get kicked out society. I don't know if you don't participate, even though it's it's pointless. I don't know. I think you're really stretching it there. So yeah, and again, it's like I said, it's the South Park philosophy as well. It's not really that deep and an insight, and certainly nowadays with how crazy politics has gotten, I'd say that kind of they're all the same. Well, certainly the election in 2000, which was just around the corner. I don't know if Gore would have invaded Iraq. I don't think so.
Yeah.
If he'd won, but that was quite consequential. Of course, you didn't really know that at the time. And then I'd say since then, there's been some pretty consequential elections in America. It's difficult because the overall economic conditions don't really change depending on who's president. But like, for instance, abortion, that's a big deal.
Yeah, that's the crazy thing about America. Like, I think about that all the time. Like, I don't really think that, like you say, the overall system's going to change. But I'm also like, I really don't want the kind of people who will be happy if Trump wins to be happy. So it's almost like it's like a cultural kind of competition, but then it's kind of like it feels like there's genuine stakes.
Yeah, because the culture then leads to Supreme Court justices being appointed. So there is actual consequences. But so I guess that is the difference to the 90s, why the satire may be a bit outdated in that regard, if it is even satire, to be honest. So late one Sunday, Tracy destroys the other candidates' campaign posters. McAllister confronts Tracy. She feigns innocence and trades threats at McAllister. How does she know his wife can't get pregnant, by the way? How does she know that?
Yeah, I was thinking that. Like, that seems like I don't know how she would come across that.
Did I miss that in the movie?
No. Or if you missed it, I missed it too. I mean, I'm the one who's more likely to have missed it, but the fact you missed it made me think I didn't miss it.
Yeah, I was like, wait, how does she know that? I was trying to think. Maybe I'm done. Maybe we're both done, but I don't know how she'd know that. But anyway, so Tammy rescues her by claiming responsibility. And is this satire? Again, I don't really think so.
Yeah, I think it's just she does it. So she does it because she wants to go to Immaculate Heart, I think. And she thinks that getting in trouble will mean that she's then able to transfer to Immaculate Heart. Like, that seems because that seems to be the progression of events.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. So McAllister has a tryst with Linda, Dave's ex-wife, the day before the election. And McAllister, of course, drives to Linda's house to find her. He's stung by a bee on his eyelid, and that's really annoying, honestly.
Are you saying from experience?
No, just seeing him like that.
Oh yeah.
That pissed. It's like, oh, come on, man.
Because he's got such a gross looking face.
Yeah, exactly. It was just gross.
I'm kind of with you on that, to be fair.
He returns home to find Linda and his wife Diane talking. Of course, there's a thematic reason, I guess, why he's stung by a bee. Yeah. Anyway,
float like a butterfly.
Yeah, and he knows, of course, Linda has exposed their encounter. Yeah, and the American dream of I'm going to get some freedom. Let's have an affair. Nope, doesn't work like that. There were consequences for Novotny, and there's consequences for him. And just nobody's happy. Just everybody's divorced and everyone hates everyone.
Yeah.
Shit. Yeah.
Yeah, I will say, in terms of, putting aside themes, the fact he's, so stupid, or, the fact that, he does this very self-destructive thing on a whim and it's turns out that was a bad idea. It did make me care just a little bit less about, I was I'm not going to be emotionally invested anymore because he barely has any sense of self-preservation. And how later on he's begging Linda, even he's like, no, Linda, I love you. And it's dude, clearly she's not a ride or die situation here. You arranged an affair and she immediately turned you in. And then as a second resort, he's trying to get with his wife again. And it's dude, this isn't going to end well for you. So yeah, I just thought he didn't even handle, he's no Shaggy. He didn't handle getting caught very well.
Yeah, McAllister oversees the tally of the ballots, which finds Tracy winning by a single vote. And then, of course, he disposes 2 of Tracy's ballots, throwing the election to Paul. The ballots are later discovered by the janitor, as we discussed, and Tracy becomes president. McAllister is forced to resign. And yeah, is this satire? Because, again, I'm not really sure it is, or political satire. I just think, it's, people being spiteful to each other because everyone's pissed off. No one's happy.
Yeah.
And, here's the thing, McAllister could, right, I know it's not the point, and this could be a nitpick, but could McAllister not just say they fell into the bin? They slipped in, they're the bin's right next to my desk.
That's a good point, yeah, he could have. I mean, the other thing I was thinking is, why didn't he put them in his pocket, but, whatever else. Okay, but yeah, assuming he's in the situation where he's got caught, yeah, he could have come up with some kind of excuse.
Yeah, it's not like he didn't rip them up, did he?
Yeah. I was also thinking, he should have really just crumpled up one of them and said, it's a tie, because it's much more believable that one of them was, wrong instead of 2 of them. And then, if it's a tie, it's a bit annoying, but then you could have, a tie break or something, and, he could finagle the tie break. I don't know.
Yeah. They could be co-presidents.
Yeah, so,
sure.
Yeah.
So
then he can
Diane...
bang both of them. I don't know why I say that. That's just the thought that entered my head.
Yeah, of course. Of course it did.
Yeah.
So Diane divorces him, taking the house and most of the joint assets. Again, it's just about how this guy, everything goes wrong for this guy. You can't like do anything. You try to do something, you'll eventually get fucked over. Like you'll eventually get fucked over. And Tammy and Paul didn't care, about anything, and they did fine because they're rich as well. But of course McAllister is humiliated, and of course Tracy is also unhappy at Georgetown. But the thing is, she is seen in a limo, of course, years later, implying she was successful, or implying she is getting her way. But I'd like more context on that, because I was thinking maybe it could be, just to further the theme. You never really make it in America, or it's very rare, even if you work really hard and you're pissed off, etc., etc. She could. It is possible that she could be, like in a relationship with this congressman.
I was thinking that too. Yeah.
Oh, you were thinking that? Okay, good. Yeah.
Like I was thinking, maybe she's Kamala style, sleeping her way to the top.
You are joking there, of course.
No, yeah, I am. Yeah.
Good. So we get into the epilogue now, because the epilogue takes a while, doesn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. So McAllister leaves. Well, it's kind of an epilogue. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So McAllister leaves Nebraska and fulfills his dream of moving to New York. He becomes a tour guide at the American Museum of Natural History and begins dating Jillian, a fellow museum worker. I think the movie is kind of implying, he was wanting to move to New York, and he's done that, and he's living a completely different lifestyle, even though it's still, kind of bad in different ways. Like he doesn't have the space like he had in Nebraska, but he's living in New York, so there's trade-offs. But I think the movie makes the point of that he's still doing what he was doing in Nebraska, in New York. Like what's the ending shot of the movie? It's when, of course, this little girl raises her hand, like when he asks a question. She's being really enthusiastic.
Oh, yes.
Yes, of course, mirroring Tracy, what she did, of course, at the start of the movie. And so the implication is, he's moved to a completely different situation, but he's just kind of doing the same thing. Like he's still stuck in this, in this place.
Yeah. It's like what do they call it? I mean, I guess just a loop. I guess that's the word.
Yes. You can't get out of it. But I kind of disagree with that, honestly, because I think that's the point the movie is trying to make. It fits with the theme, and of course the ending shot implies what I've just said. What the point is. But I would prefer working in like the American Natural History Museum to being a high school teacher in Illinois.
I'm kind of with you too. Yeah, he has kind of failed upwards.
Yeah, that's it. He's like, I was surprised when it cut to him like walking into this museum, and he's like, I got a new job at the American Natural History Museum, being a tour guide, and I was waiting for maybe it's a version of that, like, he's actually not a tour guide, he's actually maybe just a janitor,
Yeah.
I don't know, but no, he is a tour guide.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't know what they're paid, but it seems like a pretty decent job, honestly.
Yeah, I think I guess part of the joke is that even though he's in a situation where things aren't that bad, he's still kind of dissatisfied, because obviously he throws there's the whole joke about, he's like, oh, you know what, I realized I was no longer angry about Tracy anymore.
Yeah.
And then obviously he's actually still really pissed off. So
that's the implication here. He is still pissed off. There is still this anger underneath him. Like he's dating Jillian, who again he just shows no affection towards. In the two scenes we see them together. So yes, he's just kind of in the same situation. He's just limited by, America, essentially, what he can do. But again, my point is, I think that's honestly a better situation for him, But I wouldn't mind being a tour guide at this famous museum, But yeah, whatever. So Tracy misses Dave's intellect and wonders if he became a novelist, as she believed he would. And of course, he's working at a hardware store. So yeah, again, the one thing you must never do is be a paedophile, because that really does have some negative repercussions.
Well, now you tell me.
So yeah, obviously the movie ends with, like you say, Tracy getting into a limo. Again, I thought the implication could be that she's just having a relationship with the congressman, like she had with her teachers at, one of her teachers at least in high school. Because she wasn't happy at Georgetown, because she said, I think a lot of the kids just got in because of their parents.
Yeah.
She's not happy either. And so therefore it wouldn't really make sense if the movie ended with her being successful, But unless she was just if she was just in a relationship with the congressman, that would make more sense, right?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Thank you. And also, it's kind of, I'm just saying, also, it's kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? Ironic, because she's angry at these parents for nepotism, but then obviously if she just gets where she is through a relationship, that's quite a similar thing.
Yeah, exactly. So that's the only way you can make it.
Yeah.
That's the only way to pursue the American dream.
It's not about who you know, it's about who you blow.
Okay, so the film's original ending, by the way, was received poorly by test audiences. And it was true to the book. What happens is McAllister stays in Omaha and is hired as a used car salesman by one of his former students. Instead of moving to New York, Tracy encounters McAllister while looking to buy a car, and the two settle their differences before she has him sign her yearbook, which I think kind of fits in with the plot. Oh, sorry, fits in with the theme. Like, it's a better plot ending because, he's, kind of still in a shitty situation.
Yeah.
And Tracy she's still in Omaha apparently. And she can only buy a used car. And she still doesn't have any friends.
Yeah, they're kind of back in the same situation, yeah.
Yeah, but that was apparently too depressing.
Yeah, I don't know, it sounds I'd say it's kind of bittersweet, actually, so that doesn't sound like a bad ending.
Well, yeah, but, audiences didn't like it.
Yeah, audiences are retarded.
Yeah. Anyway, let's conclude. You go first.
Yeah, so I think this movie, kind of like I said at the beginning, it is solid, which I think solid, it sounds like a very complimentary thing, like, it's solid, but obviously solid isn't, like, there's much more a film can be than solid. It can be, kind of, as I said, being like challenging and really touch on some interesting ideas. This film doesn't exactly do that, but it is, like I said, interesting that there's so many different kind of characters with these different motivations, and you could kind of, get into, like, who is Tammy Metzlick or whatever her name was, and why Metzler, that's it, and like what does she have to do with like this theme of like freedom and stuff like that, and all this stuff, and a lot like American Beauty, because obviously with American Beauty you could say, well, what's this like army guy's homophobic deal with beauty, and what's this gay couple and like all that going on, blah blah blah, and like it is interesting to kind of chew the cud about.
What are you going to give it?
I think I'm going to give it middling 7. I think middling 7 for being pretty solid. Yeah,
I'm going to give it a 7.5. Yeah,
good.
Yeah, it's solid. It's good. It's fine, and it's got some interesting things to say, which I broadly agree with. But yeah, there's just a little something lacking.
Could have some pizzazz.
Yeah, for it to be great. But yeah, it's a perfectly good movie, and it's just a shame it doesn't really go into political satire like I wanted. But yeah, I still think we had a good discussion. So yeah, that's it. What are we reviewing next time, Michael?
Well, next week we're reviewing the movie Napoleon.
Yes, he didn't need an election, did he?
No, he didn't, yes.
No, he didn't. So,
and neither will Trump.
Yes. So join us next time for Napoleon. Who have you been, Michael?
I've been Michael.
I've been Luke. Thanks for listening, and don't forget, if you're watching this and you live in America, to go out and vote for Jill Stein. Goodbye.
Oh, good, yeah. Goodbye.